I want to watch one more thing, which is Modern Llama, and he just, look at that, 6 months ago was the last video of this legend, and 1 day ago he posted another video. So let's have a look, let's check it out. I'm really excited to see. It's a beginner guide, so maybe we know a lot of this already, but I'm sure Llama will surprise us with some insight that he found. And I'm sure the video is gonna be done really well.
This video is to give you the bare bones minimum basic fundamentals of the overworld, what you need to know to get started, to start capturing your own alluvials, and to really start exploring this world. Let's get into it. Once you have opened up your map by pressing M, I want you to hone in and focus on a couple of icons here. One of them is going to be in the very center of Sanctum Mesa here in the main hub, and that icon is what's called a beacon. This beacon is going to allow you to teleport to it. If you click and hold, you will then be teleported to that location on the map. The other key icon...
Holy moly, he starts great. Like the sound effects and the explanation, it's really good. I hope not too much of this changes till the game is out, but you will just have to do an updated version.
Here is what's called the obelisk. The obelisk is actually where you spawn in, and that is how you're going to then access the other regions in this open world game here. There's different regions, and the regions we have access to currently are the Abyssal Basin, Crimson Waste, and Brightland Steppes. We'll get back to that in just a second. Let's finish covering the Sanctum Mesa hub. There's a few other icons that I want you to know about that are really important, and I just want to give you the basic rundown on them. One of them is called the leaderboard. There's a few different contributing factors that contribute to your leaderboard ranking score after your run, but we'll get into that in a later video. I'm gonna have a more in-depth guide on all of this in the future, so stay tuned for that. A couple other icons here that you need to know about is the forge and the storage here. Okay, the storage, easy enough. It's like your bank. Okay, that's where you're going to store stuff. It's where you're going to store Mozart upgrades, alluvials, shards, skins, you name it. Okay, anything and everything. It's literally your bank. Let's move on to the forge really quick. It's essentially your crafting station. It is going to be where you're going to craft gear upgrades of all different kinds, whether that be weapons, armor, Mozart upgrades, you name it. Mozart, by the way, if you don't know already, is your little companion drone that's following you around. He's a cool little dude. You can also make skins for him as well as your ranger. It's really cool. But that's essentially what the forge is. It's a place to craft, refine your shards, and so many different things. There's a lot to unpack there, but fundamentally, that's what you need to know. That's what the forge is going to be used for. With that, let's get into why you're probably really here and what you're most excited to do, and that is jumping into the actual overworld itself and actually capturing alluvials, mining resources, and being able to bring those back and start your collection.
He's gonna collect 25 Lynxes in one run.
Wait.
Right?
I almost forgot something. That's a good looking rock. All right, Brightland Steppes, stage 0. Let's go. Now you finally have landed into your very first run here. The first thing I want you to do is press M. That's going to bring up your map. Once you've brought up your map, I want you to then press H. Once you have pressed H, that's going to show you your heat map. Make sure you zoom out so you can get a picture of the entire map. This is going to show you the hotspots where you're most likely to find resources and alluvial wakes within the overworld. This is going to save you so much time and make the world feel a little bit more full of life and less empty, if you will.
That's great. I'm gonna have a hard time finding anything to say because he explains it so well. One thing I want to say is the heat map. This changes every round. So the areas of interest where a lot of loot is located is not the same every.
Rather than trying to run around aimlessly throughout this region, unless you just want.
Although you have like areas where there is usually more, like you have better chances in special key areas of the map where there is probably spawning more. The real distribution is still going to be random, but the locations are weighted differently, and some of them have graded and have
want to do that. You want to explore the region and see all what it has to offer. I highly recommend doing that as well, but this will save you a ton of time and get you to mining your first resources and capturing your first alluvials much faster. Once you've done that, I want you to pick a section or a spot in that hotspot, the biggest one you can find, put a marker there by right clicking and then closing your map out. Once you have closed your map out, you're going to then look around and look for the beam of light shooting into the sky. That's the marker you just placed. That is the direction you're going to want to head into. And then as you're heading in that direction within this world, make sure you're pressing Q. Q is going to activate your visor, and that's going to allow you to see the resources and highlight the resources or alluvial wakes moving around within the overworld. You might even see the alluvial wakes or the rocks as you're going along without even using it, but this helps you see through walls and see through ledges or see down into caverns you might not be able to see with the naked eye. This visor, I highly recommend upgrading after you've upgraded your boots, because your boots is definitely priority number one in terms of movement upgrades. And then I would highly recommend upgrading your visor and then your jetpack after that. That's just the order I personally prefer. Now, the first thing that I want to show you,
I think I would prefer boots than jetpack, just to have maximum movement speed. And because your visor, only the range gets better, right? As long as you get close, you will still see everything. But you probably can save a lot of time if you go visor first. I'll try it out.
Is mining rocks. Rocks is where you're going to find and mine more shards and also find the resources that are needed to upgrade those boots, jetpacks, and visors in the future. Rocks. They're going to be your best friend. You're going to want to mine a ton of them. But for the sake of this run, so that we can actually get you to capturing your very first alluvial, let's go ahead and look for an alluvial wake. Those are going to be the orbs, the balls, zooming and zipping around the map that you're going to want to shoot. Pro tip, you can just spam your gun and try and shoot the orb, and you're more than likely going to hit it. But if you jump first and then aim at the orb before you shoot it, you're going to slow down time, and it's going to make shooting the orb so much easier. You can still spam, shoot it, and you'll should definitely be able to hit it. It just makes it so much easier in my opinion. Once you've then shot it, you can run up to it and...
Little ad here. Whenever you are in the air and you zoom in, you slow down time. But the thing that's happening is while you're slowing down time, you're using up your energy. So sometimes it happens that you're in the air just with a little bit energy left, which the energy you use for the jetpack and all those movement abilities, the super jump. It can happen that you run out of this energy while you zoom in, and just before you shoot, energy runs out, you fall down, you shoot somewhere else, and the thing is gone. So always make sure when you slow down time to shoot an illuvial anomaly right here, that you have enough energy left to complete the shot.
And you can either scan it to see what's inside, or you just jump right in. Let's...
That might have been a bad call, but I want to give you a good quality, huh? Oh, there we go. Mel comes in with the pro advice.
That is where we're going to be presented with...
Can't see the chat right now, but Mel said visor last since it takes the high... Usually you would update boots and jetpack first in the tier 0 areas. There's maybe a tactic where you don't spend too much time in the tier 0 areas at first to progress faster and just skip jetpacks in the beginning, but then you have to do it afterwards. Maybe you buy it on the marketplace, your updates, your upgrades for the boots and the jetpack. You can skip the tier 0 runs. There's a lot of different strategy and how, especially in the beginning when the launch comes in, which will be the most important time to play overworld, how to be most efficient.
The battle board, the auto battler side of this game. And essentially what this is a cinematic auto battler game, and the basics here of what you need to know to...
This looks a little bit weird because he has his vision zoomed out a lot. You can change the field of view, and if you zoom out too much, it gets this fish eye effect. That's why it looks a little bit weird. Also, this is still work in progress. Like, this already looks better than this right here, so this is not a final battle board, but it looks still amazing, right?
Auto battler game, and the basics here of what you need to know to win these battles is try and find some of these battles that only have maybe 1 or 2 alluvials, maybe 3. But starting out, I would highly recommend trying to find wakes that only have maybe 1 or 2 alluvials within them. It'll just make the battle a lot easier. You'll see here, I even fail against 3 Dokas, and that's purely because Dokas are one of the strongest stage 0 alluvials. I highly recommend trying to capture them.
Yeah, so if you want to win those battles, when I restarted the game and started from scratch, I had a really hard time killing like 3 units or something like this. You want to find, there's a few ones where there's just 1 inside or just 2 inside. And yeah, for your team, you want to get some synergies done, and usually the classes will be better. So for example, 3 fighter is really good, 3 rogues is really good, 3 bulwarks is really good. And also the affinities are pretty solid. So basically, all of them are really good. Water is a bit more situational, where you really want to cast a lot. But nature, earth, fire, they're really solid and are really strong in any team, I would say. And air is also a bit more situational. Air gives you dodge chance, so it's versus science, it will be useless.
All your alluvials onto the board for now and just hit play. Get a feel for what your ranger does. Move your camera around with WASD or the arrow keys on your keyboard. Get a feel for the cinematic that's unfolding before you, the battle and the different alluvials and their different attacks and what they're doing and how they move and how they attack, and just kind of get a feel.
Important point. Enjoy the journey.
And start gaining an understanding of how this whole battle system works. It's a lot of fun, in my opinion. I've never been a huge auto battler fan, to be quite honest with you, but I actually really enjoy this. It's a lot of fun because it's so cinematic and it's just, I don't know, it's so unique. It's cool. I love it. I love that you can also zoom in and see the battle unfold right before your eyes. I love it. If you have won the battle, this...
By the way, I think he didn't mention is one of the most important things. Doing it right here. If you right click your ranger, or if you click on those, yeah, if you click on the icon right here, you will be able to select the weapon and the armor for your ranger. And without a weapon and armor, your ranger is pretty much useless. This is the most important thing. You want to craft a nice weapon that fits in with your illuvial team. For example, here you want to have a water sword or a water gun for the Scion. You have the 3 water and strong armor. Otherwise, your range is going to be pretty weak.
To win these battle, this is where you can finally try and capture your very first alluvial. And you're going to want to take those few shard fragments that you start out with and click and drag, or throw it if you will, onto one of the alluvials that you just beat in this battle. Now, the alluvial can run away, the capture can fail, or best case scenario, you'll actually capture the alluvial that you just beat. That is going to then go into your bank.
I hope that the different drones have different animations when you catch an illuvial. For example, there's this, I don't know, quirky, funny drone which like starts dancing when he catches one or whatever. I really hope we have, and I'm sure we're gonna have different personalities attached with those drones. Serious one, the quirky one.
In your storage, once you get out from the run, it doesn't go directly into your inventory once you've captured it. So when you go back to the Sanctum Mesa hub, make sure you grab that alluvial that you just beat and add them to your team before going out into future runs after that. Now going back into the battle here, that's, you know, starting to close in, you're freaking out and they're going, what's going on? What's happening? Why am I being kicked out of this encounter? I wasn't done yet. There's more alluvials. Don't worry. This is how the overworld works. The reason for it is, looking back in that battle, there's what's called the dimensional stability, and that dimensional stability goes down based on the number of alluvials that you use and the mastery points associated with each one. All of that is taken into account in terms of how many points it deducts from the dimensional stability of that current encounter. This is where learning what you need to win a battle is going to become...
No, don't do this to me. Well, I can explain a little bit. I mean, Modern Llama does a great job explaining it, but I want to say something too. And yeah, it's the theme of the overworld, right? The whole world is collapsing. When you run around in the open world and collect stuff, you have a time limit, and then everything starts collapsing, and you have to get out of there. And also in the illuvial encounter, when you capture them, you have a few tries. Depending how much resources you use, you have more tries or less tries. And also depending how strong the illuvial is. you want to catch 100 mastery point Illuvial, it will cost 100 stability. And maybe you only have 90 stability to start out with, so you would only have one try, for example, to catch that Illuvial.
Crucial and gonna come more into play later on when you get a better idea of what you really need in these battles to win the battle and have the most mastery points left over to be able to then have more capture chances at the Illuvials that you then beat or hopefully beat within the encounter. I hope that makes sense. That's more of an advanced concept that you eventually want to learn as you get into some of the higher stage runs and into some of those tougher battles later on down the line. But for now, I highly recommend just throwing your Illuvials on the board.
By the way, when you catch this, I don't know if you know still in Pokemon, you have like 3 stages. Once the ball hits the guy, it's like the first stage. When it goes through that, then it's like rolling on the floor. And then you have an end stage. And it's the same here, like sucking it in, it could fail there. And then while he tries to compress it, you could fail there, and you have like 3 different stages in the animation of the capturing of the drone where it could fail. So right now here, first stage gone, second stage now,
capture the Illuvials at
third
the
stage
end,
or whatever.
Go with that and just get used to it for now. Once the dimensional stability there though hits 0 or goes below
you can fail while starting, in the middle, and
0, that encounter will close on you and you will have to then go find another one to try again. This is basically it though. Honestly, that's basically it. That's like the bare bones minimum of what you need to know to get started within the Illuvium overworld, to start mining, to start capturing, to have a little bit of direction in terms of upgrades and what you want to shoot for. Again, highly recommend Dokas, and then in terms of gear upgrades, boots, and then visor, and then jetpack, and then focusing on mining upgrades for Mozart. Eventually, when you start going into the stage 1 region and mining rocks there, try and aim for those stage or those tier 1 upgrades for Mozart or tier 2 upgrades, and so on and so forth. It's kind of a gradual progression here that you can kind of go about things. You can kind of skip around to some of the higher stage regions if you want to. It's just not going to be as efficient. That's basically it. Just purely because you're lacking the upgrades, like the mining upgrades or capture upgrades, to really take advantage, and also the team to be able to take on some of the harder battles that you'll come across in some of the higher stage regions. So just little things to keep in mind as you kind of progress and go along here. One last final tip here that I have for you when you're in the overworld: utilize your beacons. Your beacons you can place within the overworld on your run by pressing F and then clicking that area where it shows green, and Mozart will then place down a beacon for you, and it'll function the exact same as the beacon in Sanctum Mesa. You can then click on that beacon if you're not right next to it and you want to travel back to that area later on in your run, because there's resources there that you want to come back to, or a battle you want to come back to and try and take on, kind of thing, like later on because you didn't find anything better. Just little things like that. That's what beacons are kind of going to be used for, or to get to the outer reaches of the map if you die in some cases within these different regions where there's, like, you know, pools of acid that will kill you. You'll actually be transported back to the most recent beacon that you placed if you actually placed a beacon before you died. So highly recommend placing those. You can place up to 3 within the current run that you're in, and then that refreshes on the next run that you go into. Again, just a nice feature to know about, really, within the...
Super important. Put down that respawn beacon, otherwise you have to run everything again, especially before you go into a fight, for example, or before you do some crazy transition over acid
within the
or
overworld.
whatever it is.
Just make your experience just that much better. There's so much more to explore within this world. I really do hope you enjoyed as much as I have so far, and I really genuinely do hope this video has been helpful in giving you some direction on where to go, what to do, how to get around the Illuvium overworld. And so if it has been helpful for you, it would mean the world to me if you smash that like button and hit that subscribe button for future videos just like this. I'll see you all in the next one. Have a good one.
Thank you, Mr. Modern Llama. Great video. Really good.